He said, "Let's start with something real," and slid a dog-eared paperback across the table like a dare. Bookstore cafe weeknight rain, the kind of quiet where milk frothers sound like ocean surf. Noah had the unremarkable look that makes you breathe easier. Soft hoodie, clean sneakers, hair that had never met a ring light. He didn't posture. He didn't check his phone. He asked if I wanted the window seat because weather's better when it's framed, and somehow that line didn't make me roll my eyes. We talked too long for a first date. Favorite breakfast foods, the worst jobs we'd had, the petty things that make us human. How he alphabetizes spices, how I hate when people clap at the end of movies. He said he'd worked in a psych lab once, but it was mostly questionnaires and bad coffee, which sounded harmless in the sweet way nerdy jobs are. When I asked what he studied, he shrugged. How people present themselves when they want to be chosen. I laughed, because that's dating apps, right? When the barista flipped the chairs on the far tables, we migrated to the travel section, just to keep talking. He traced book spines with 2 fingers, gentle. "I'm tired of the scroll," he said. "Feels like auditioning for a role that keeps getting recast." I said amen without making it church. He smiled. He had a good smile, the kind that didn't try too hard to be seen. We left under the same umbrella. On the way to the train, he stopped, looked at me like he wanted to make sure I'd remember the moment, and kissed me. Not showy. Warm. The kiss said, "I'm not an actor and this isn't a scene. NSFW but YouTube friendly." His hand slid to the back of my neck, and my brain forgot its passwords for a second. I liked him. I liked the steadiness, the unscripted tone, the simple relief of not feeling like content. 2 weeks felt like 2 days. Calls at night that didn't feel like interrogations. Walks that ended on his couch with takeout, and the kind of closeness that smells like soap and relief. His apartment matched him, small, cluttered in a thoughtful way. A corkboard sat on one wall with pinned index cards. Trust, signal versus noise, perception gap. I pointed. He said, "Little thought map. Keeps me honest." It fit the psych lab thing, so I nodded and let it be. One night, stretched out on that couch, he said, "Let's delete the apps together. A vow against the feed." I grinned at the drama of it and handed him my phone like it was a ring. We tapped and held and pressed delete. He did the same. It felt symbolic in the small way rituals do. Cheap magic, still magic. 2 days later, a friend texted me a screenshot. My dating profile. "Back on," she wrote. I thumb-typed back, "Nope, deleted." She sent another image, same photos, same prompts, my name spelled correctly. My stomach did that elevator drop your body does before your mind catches up. Maybe a glitch. Maybe someone stole my pictures. I told myself those maybes like vitamins. The next day, a different friend sent me a DM. "We matched," she wrote. "But is this you?" It wasn't my city, wasn't my bio exactly, but it was my face. The messages were definitely not me. They sounded clinical, like someone using a manual on how to be charming. My charm has never followed directions. I called Noah. He answered with that calm voice and asked if I was okay before I said hello. I told him about the profiles. He didn't speak for a second. Then, "Can we talk in person?" The request had weight, like he wanted to place the conversation on a table and measure it. At his place, the rain had returned. He set out tea we didn't drink. "It's not what you think," he started, which is how people always begin when it's exactly what you think. He took a breath like a diver. "I'm doing a small study," he said. "Independent. Not for publication. I wanted to test how people form attachments to profiles, authenticity signals, message timing, photo selection." He said the words smoothly, kindly, like they were a blanket. "I used your photos because," he stopped, corrected himself, "because they're real, not overproduced." He smiled, weak and earnest. "You read as honest." "You used my face," I said. The sentence came out flat and heavy, a brick placed on a table. "To talk to strangers. As data." "I anonymized," he said quickly. "No last name, different city, different job." I blurred identifiers. "I wasn't trying to hurt you. It's controlled observation." A laugh escaped me and cracked in the middle. "Observation of what?" "My friend sent me screenshots." He winced, like pain could be PR. "That wasn't supposed to happen. Spillover. I'll take it down." I was close to done anyway. The room shrank. That corkboard with its tidy words stared back. Trust. Authenticity. Perception gap. I wanted to rip the cards off and make confetti that said Noah is a liar, but my hands just rested in my lap, suddenly very good at staying still. He said, "Order whatever you want." I take care of mine, and slid the leather menu toward me like it was a promise. Mid-level restaurant, dim bulbs, waiters in shirts too tight, plates just big enough to make you consider a second entree. Ben stood when I arrived, pulled out my chair, and did the old-school things no one does anymore because they're afraid of looking try-hard. He wasn't. Jacket, clean shave, a watch that looked like an inheritance. He smelled expensive in a way that made me sit up straighter. He was easy company, quick stories, dry jokes, just enough self-deprecation to sand the edges off the confidence. When the bill came, he didn't even let me touch it. Card out, signed without looking tip generous. "Don't worry about it," he said. "I've got you." I didn't fight. Sometimes it's nice to let someone steer. Date 2, he showed up with flowers he swore weren't a big deal. "They were by the door," he said, like he'd accidentally purchased a bouquet. "Sushi this time." He ordered for both of us, considered my allergies, and checked if the chef used sesame oil. When the bill came, same thing, quick swipe, deliberate eye contact. Let me do what I'm good at. The charm worked. NSFW but YouTube safe. When he kissed me outside the restaurant, he did it like he was still holding the door, gentle, sure, letting me walk through first. His hand fit my waist like a handle you actually needed. There was heat tucked under the manners, the kind that makes you say yes against a wall you didn't notice before. I liked the way his courtesy held a slow simmer. I liked that he didn't rush. I liked how small I felt in a way that wasn't erasure, just rest. We fell into a rhythm. Dinners, then a concert he happened to have tickets for, then an Uber he insisted on calling. He Venmo'd me for a cab before I even checked my phone. "You shouldn't be out there haggling with drivers," he said. "I'll handle the boring parts." I didn't mind. The boring parts are the parts one usually do. Gifts started showing up folded into the days. A hoodie from a brand I'd mentioned once. A book that was sold out everywhere, noise-canceling headphones because your commute sounds brutal. He brushed it off when I protested. "This is nothing," he said. "I like taking care of someone who deserves it." That phrase clung, deserves it. He took me to a place with velvet chairs and a cocktail list that read like a poem someone got paid too much to write. The bartender knew his name. Ben ordered for us again. He liked introducing me to things, like watching my face when I tasted something I couldn't afford on a Tuesday. It made him glow. The first hairline crack was a joke. He slid the bill toward himself and said, "I could tally what I've spent this month on you, but I'd have to charge interest for the math." He smiled. I smiled back. It sat in the air a little too long. "Another night," he said. "Most men don't know how to provide anymore. It's embarrassing." I said I liked paying for myself sometimes. He kissed my temple and said, "I'm not most men." He wasn't controlling at first. He just had preferences that leaned toward rules with better PR. "Let me book the Uber," he'd say, thumb moving fast. "Let me talk to the server. Let me handle that nasty landlord email for you. I write better under pressure." Helpful, helpful, helpful. My shoulders loved him. My gut took notes I ignored. "Before we order," she said, "what's your 5-year plan?" Cafe that looked like a productivity podcast. White walls, fern in the corner, everyone typing like they were paid by the keystroke. Grace was early, spine straight, tablet open, coffee already at a strategic sip line. She stood when I arrived, smiled exactly once, and checked the clock behind me. "Right on time," she said, like I'd just passed a test I didn't know I was taking. I tried to make it light. "My 5-year plan is not burning pasta." She didn't laugh. "Okay, but seriously." So I did it properly, save more, maybe start a small business, travel if the math worked. She nodded like she was stacking blocks. Reasonable. When the server came, she ordered quickly, adding no syrup and oat, not almond, then looked back at me the way people look at receipts. We got on better than that makes it sound. She was sharp with a dry little humor that only showed up when you earned it. She asked real follow-ups. When I said I was in sales, she said, "So you're adaptive." And when I rolled my eyes at that, she said, "That wasn't an insult." She analyzed instead of chatted, which should have been exhausting but somehow felt precise. It's weirdly flattering to be taken seriously by a person who takes everything seriously. When she smiled for the second time, it was because I told her about my worst job, handing out discount flyers in the rain. "So you tolerate discomfort when there's a goal," she said, sipping. "Noted." "Noted," I said. She tapped her temple. "Just mentally." We kept seeing each other. Efficiently, I guess. Dates started on time and ended when the calendar said they should. She liked quiet places, orderly menus, walking the long way if the short way had too many variables. She noticed if I texted back in 5 minutes or 35. If I opened a door, she appreciated it. If I didn't, she clocked that too but never scolded. It felt like being graded by someone who wanted me to do well. NSFW but YouTube safe. When we finally kissed in the shadow outside a tram stop, it was careful, skillful, like she'd read a manual and highlighted her favorite parts. Hands in the right places, pressure calibrated. When I leaned back, a little breathless, she said, "Huh," not unkindly. I asked what that meant. "Just updating priors," she murmured, and kissed me again softer. I didn't know if I wanted to laugh or salute. Her apartment matched the voice, neat, unscented, everything aligned. A single orchid on the desk. A calendar pinned above it with squares filled in pencil, not pen, plans that could be moved but should not be smudged. She cooked me dinner once, a simple stir-fry that tasted like someone who reads the whole recipe first. After we ate, we curled on the couch. She rested her hand on my chest for exactly the length of one lo-fi playlist track, and then got up to clear the plates. "Do you ever not optimize?" I asked, teasing. She looked at me, genuinely puzzled. "For what?" "For life," I said. She smiled a small, private smile, like I'd told a joke she was saving to laugh at later. By the 5th date, she asked me my income. Not awkward, not sneaky, just slid the question across the table between dessert and the bill the way you'd ask if I had siblings. I made a joke. She didn't. So I told her. She nodded. Context helps. She didn't explain what context helped with. The first red flag should have been green cells. It was after another dinner at hers. We were talking future logistics, holidays, families, not kids exactly but the shape of years. She listened with that patient blankness that made me overshare. Then she said, almost shyly, "I'd like to show you something, if that's okay." She opened her laptop and turned it toward me. A spreadsheet. A beautiful spreadsheet, actually, color-coded, conditional formatting, tabs along the bottom like neat little doors. At the top, relationship evaluation metrics. I thought it was a joke. I looked at her. She was earnest. She clicked a tab. Rows of first names, dates, scores. Columns labeled, compatibility index, communication efficiency, conflict recovery speed, future security alignment, financial stability, emotional ROI, adaptability to feedback. My name glowed in a soft pastel, as if to say this was all very civilized. "Okay," I said slowly. "You track." "I track patterns," she corrected gently. "I used to get swept up and ignore data. Now I don't repeat mistakes." Her tone was pride wearing a cardigan. I scrolled. Under my name, numbers. Small notes in the margins. On time, helpful in planning, independent, verify. A green check by trust potential. A yellow triangle by financial upward mobility. A formula bar that read something like equals weighted sum, C2, H2, $L $1, $L $6. Because of course she had a custom function for love. "You scored higher than average," she added quickly, like she'd put out a small fire. "Particularly in adaptability." "I'm not a quarterly report," I said. I tried to make it light. It landed heavy. She nodded, sympathetic to my discomfort the way a nurse is sympathetic to a blood draw. I know this seems cold, but emotions are noisy. If I only listened to how I felt, I chose poorly. When I use metrics, my heartbreak reduces by 50%. She pointed to a line graph on another tab titled Breakup Recovery Duration that did, in fact, slope down over the years as her columns got more specific. "You have a chart for healing time?" "Of course." He arrives at ABC Company carrying a bag that's trying very hard to pretend it isn't an overnight bag. Black nylon, boxy, with a toothbrush spine poking against the seam like a guilty thought. The handle is frayed in one place, taped with a sliver of silver that catches the light whenever he lifts it to readjust, like the bag is winking at me. He greets me with a hug that's one beat too long, and sets the bag in the empty chair beside him as if it deserves its own menu. The hostess asks, "Will you be needing that chair?" And he says, "It's fine there," which is a sentence that tells you everything about a man. We matched last week. He works in strategy, which is not a job so much as a posture. Messages were fine. "What are you passionate about?" "Bread," I said, because at least that's honest. He sent a photo of a baguette. It's possible he thought this was flirting. At the bar, the ice clinks like New York wind chimes, and the bartender has that no-nonsense mercy I recognize instantly. She tops my water without asking and clocks the bag like it's a third party on the date. He orders a martini neat, which isn't a thing, but he is very confident, and sometimes confidence says things that aren't real. I get a dirty gin because tonight I want my olives to taste like they've lived. Crazy day, he says, rolling his sleeves, checking his watch, nudging the bag with his knee. Meeting stacked. You. Survived the M train, I say. A man gave a sermon to a bag of oranges. He laughs, looks at his reflection in the back bar, and lowers his voice like the bottles are paparazzi. He asks about my job. I keep it airy. He has opinions about coffee, bagels, the scene. He says he's tired of women who don't know what they want, which is cute, given the portable suitcase of presumption at his left. Red flag, table for one. The oysters arrive. He tells me he doesn't really do carbs, then devours 4 crackers with the focus of a wolf in a Whole30 documentary. All through the appetizer, that bag sits there like a plot twist. It's not huge, but it's stuffed with intention. The zipper pull has a little leather tag on it, embossed with initials that aren't his. I imagine the monogram belongs to a past girlfriend who bought it for him back when sleepovers were invitations instead of assumptions. The conversation is beige. He's polite, polished, and perfectly unrememberable. The bag, however, is unforgettable. Every time a server slides by, the bag gets bumped and he catches it, smooth, practiced, like a guy who's rescued his expectations from tipping over more than once. He tells me he's minimalist now. I glance at the bag. Clearly. He pays for the first round, I get the second. He tries to order for me. I let him get as far as she'll have, before I look at the bartender, smile, and say, she'll have what she wants. Tiny victories are the only currency some nights. 2 hours of small talk later, we're at the Coates. The city is a damp mouth exhaling on the door. He lifts the bag, rolls his shoulder, and says, I'll call us a car. He hands me his phone. The ride app is open and waiting, a blinking cursor in the address bar like a tongue. Put in your address, he says, easy. The bag hangs from his hand, pendulum sure. Why don't you put in your address, I say, and then I'll put in mine. He smiles like a teacher about to correct a child. No, we're going back to yours. The door thumps shut behind a departing couple. The bartender's eyes flicker up, then down. I hear the radiator hiss like it's not surprised. No, I say very pleasantly like I'm declining an hors d'oeuvre shaped like a red flag. We're not. He blinks. The bag doesn't. Come on, he says. It's late. It's New York, I say. It's always late. I brought stuff, he says like evidence. He lifts the bag a little higher, as if maybe I missed it. Inside, I can picture the toiletries. Travel cologne, gel, deodorant, a toothbrush with a bite mark near the neck. Maybe socks rolled like little admissions. Maybe a t-shirt from a conference that promised disruption and delivered lanyards. I'm not a homeless shelter, I tell him, still kind. I'm not taking in strays. His mouth does the thing men's mouths do when a script goes off book. He looks at the hostess stand, then back at me, and tries on a laugh he doesn't own. Okay, he says, with an airiness that could cut glass. Then I'm not calling your car. There's a beat where he expects me to plead, to negotiate, to offer a compromise like my couch or a future date that rewards this sulk. Instead, I pull my phone out, order myself a ride, and say, peace out, Girl Scout. My driver is 6 minutes away, which is mercifully the same amount of patience I have left. He watches me confused. The bag hangs there, heavy with Plan A. The silence grows a second head. I thank the bartender, who gives me the tiniest nod like a priest dispensing absolution. At the door, I turn back because I am sentimental in exactly one way. I like a clean ending. He's still there, texting with the furrowed focus of a man Googling how to recover from being told no. Outside, the night is that slick, reflective dark where cabs smear like crayons. I stand under the awning, rain needling my scalp, and do the quick audit a woman does after any date. Did I misread? Did I mislead? Or did a man bring luggage to a blueprint he never asked me to co-sign? My ride pulls up, warm air smelling like pine and someone else's commute. I slide in, tell the driver my address, and watch the restaurant window recede. For a moment the bag appears in the glass like a floating moon, then it's gone. At home, I peel off the night like a sticker. Shoes by the door, earrings in the tiny dish, moral where I can see it in the morning. He texts at 12:07. I think there was a misunderstanding. I was just being efficient. Efficiency is a great quality for a spreadsheet and a terrible one for desire. I send back. The bag understood what you wanted. I did too. We just don't want the same thing. He tries a call. I don't answer. The phone buzzes, then calms. I brush my teeth, and catch my reflection with foam at the corners of my mouth, like a tiny rabid boundary. I consider my own bag in the closet, scuffed weekender, soft with use. The difference isn't the bag. It's the invitation. She looked me dead in the eye halfway through the date and said, "I don't test people, I just verify." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. We were sitting outside a rooftop bar in Dubai Marina, the kind of place where everything smells like salt, perfume, and the faint arrogance of money. Hiba had this glassy confidence, sleek black dress, hair pulled back, eyeliner sharp enough to make men behave. She was magnetic. I'd matched with her a week before, and she replied to my first message in under a minute. Our chats were quickfire: philosophy, love languages, loyalty. She had opinions like blade edges, clean, shiny, slightly dangerous. When she spoke, she made you feel like you were being scanned. "People say they want honesty," she said over her drink, "but they just want to be believed." I told her I liked that she was intense. She smiled, slow and deliberate. "Good. I don't do shallow." She wasn't lying. After the second drink, she reached across the table and brushed a bit of ice from my sleeve. The touch was light but possessive, like claiming territory. "You're very open," she said. "Refreshing." "Thanks," I said. "I think." She tilted her head. "That's a compliment. Most men lie in the first 10 minutes. About what?" "Everything." She said it like she'd already caught me doing it. We left the bar when the music got too loud and walked the waterfront, talking about relationships that fell apart. She admitted she once hired a private investigator on an ex, not for cheating, she clarified. Just curiosity. I laughed too loud, thinking she was being dramatic. She wasn't. At her car, she leaned against the door and looked at me with that calm, calculating gaze. "You seem loyal," she said, "but I like to be sure." I joked, "What are you going to do, run a background check?" She smirked. "Maybe." Then she kissed me, slow and deliberate, like a seal being stamped on a document. The next few days, she was perfect. Texts at the right times, voice notes that sounded like they belonged in perfume commercials. She'd say things like, "I trust you already," and then ask questions with too much detail. "Who were you with before me? What's your ex's Instagram? Do you ever leave read receipts on?" Each question wrapped in velvet, but lined with steel. She wanted me to send selfies when I went out. "Just to see your face," she'd say. I sent them. It felt harmless, even flattering, like proof of interest. Then weird things started happening. A random girl messaged me on a dating app, a completely different profile, but her sentences sounded familiar. Same cadence, same phrasing. The kind of flirty but intellectual tone Hiba used when she wanted to seem casual. I joked about it to her later. "Someone on the app talks exactly like you." She didn't laugh. "What's her name?" she asked, tone flat. I told her. She went quiet. "Interesting." "Why?" "No reason," she said. "Maybe I just attract imitation." That night, another random account followed me on Instagram. Then another. No photos. No posts. Just new accounts, each with one follower, Hiba. When I mentioned it, she smiled like a teacher who'd caught a student lying. "Maybe it's the universe watching you." I should have run then. Instead, I told myself it was coincidence, maybe overenthusiasm. She was so composed in person that the online weirdness felt unreal. When we were together, she was all warmth and wit, her perfume dizzying and her body language deliberate, like she'd studied exactly how to make someone feel seen. When she kissed me, it wasn't sweet, it was control disguised as affection. One night, we were lying on her sofa, her head on my chest, scrolling through memes. She suddenly said, "You talk to a lot of women, don't you?" "No," I said. "Just you." "Really? Really?" She smiled without looking up. "Good." The next day, she sent me a screenshot of my own WhatsApp chat with her. "Do you see how quickly you replied to me here?" she wrote. "You didn't reply that fast last night. Consistency matters." I stared at it. She had a point, technically, but it was terrifying that she was timing my responses. When I told her she was overthinking, she said, "I don't overthink. I just collect evidence." That phrase stuck. Over the next week, more strange accounts appeared. Different names. Same pattern, similar writing, weirdly personal compliments, always messaging me at night. I ignored them. Then one of them sent a selfie. Not of me, but of my street, taken from a car window. That's when I stopped sleeping properly. When I finally confronted Hiba, she didn't flinch. "I needed to see if you'd flirt back," she said. "You didn't. That's good. You made fake accounts?" She nodded, calm. Trust has to be tested, or it's just a theory. You could have just asked. I did, she said. But people lie when they think they're being watched. The logic was insane but airtight in her voice. Like she was reading from a rulebook only she could see. I told her I couldn't keep seeing her. She stared, quiet for a long time, then said, I understand. But don't pretend you didn't feel something real. I did, I admitted. But you turned it into a game. She touched my cheek with her thumb, gentle. Not a game, she whispered. A study. That was the last time I saw her. Until a month later. I was at a cafe, scrolling, when I saw a new dating profile. Different name. Different city listed. But the bio said, I don't test people, I verify. The photo was her, cropped just enough to hide the eyes. I deleted my account. He shook my hand like it was a contract and said, You seem emotionally literate. I ordered miso. Sushi place, midweek, quiet enough to hear the soy dishes clink. Tony stood when I arrived, pressed shirt, serious watch, the kind of grooming that suggests his razor has an assistant. His profile had said emotionally mature, not here for games, which I'd learned is usually a red flag dressed as a compliment, but I was trying to give men a second chance. He'd picked the table, already scanned the menu, already asked the server for still water, chilled. Efficient, bordering on ceremonial. He was easy in conversation. A little LinkedIn, sure, but attentive. We traded office war stories. I joked about death by meeting. He smiled like a therapist about to bill me. When I said I liked sleeping in on weekends, he replied, That's fine as long as it's intentional rest, not avoidance. It should have annoyed me, but I let it slide because the salmon nigiri was perfect and he looked at me like I was the most interesting thing in the room. We walked after, cool air, shop windows, his hand hovering at my back without quite touching. On the corner near the florist, he kissed me. It was considerate and practiced, like he'd done a quiet internal checklist. Ask, lean, wait, kiss. I liked the warm press of him, the clean cologne, the way he didn't push the moment into something messier. NSFW, but safe to say, when his palm settled on my waist, I felt the spark that says, okay, I remember how to be a body. He texted that night to say, Thank you for being emotionally available. Odd phrasing, but the follow-up, Can I call? Was sweet. We spoke for an hour. He had one of those steady voices that make you think of solutions before there's even a problem. Date 2, his place. He cooked steak like he'd watched 5 tutorials and taken notes. Everything about his apartment was neat to the point of choreography. Plants watered. Books arranged by category, influence, attachment, boundaries. He poured wine with a tiny bow of his head and said, To intention. We ate on the couch, talked about long-term goals. He nodded while I spoke, then reframed my sentences like a coach. So you value autonomy and creative control. It was flattering to be translated into bullet points. Later, on the balcony, he tucked hair behind my ear and said he appreciated my emotional clarity. We kissed again, slower this time. Hands, breath, the soft drag of his shirt against my skin. Fade to black, tasteful. We stopped at the edge of more and stepped back, laughing, both of us a little high on restraint. He texted after I left. Rare to feel this scene. Weeks rolled. He liked plans. Wednesday dinners, Sunday mornings at the nice coffee place where they weigh beans like diamonds. He was consistent, calls, goodnight texts, check-ins that felt like care until they felt like audits. Small things pricked. If I replied after a few hours, he'd say, Communication is key. If I canceled because of work, he'd smile and say, When someone matters, you make time, like a chorus he hoped would catch on. The first argument arrived sideways. I mentioned I was booking a solo trip later in the year. 5 days, a backpack, my own rhythm. He went still. You'd rather travel alone than with someone who cares about you? I blinked. It's not about rather. I just like solo trips. He asked if I was performing independence. I wanted to laugh, but it didn't feel funny. We changed the subject, had dessert, pretended the air wasn't now a fraction heavier. He called the next day to apologize. Stress week, he said. My tone was off. I accepted. Everyone has edges. Still, after that, he started slipping therapist words into places they didn't belong. I was avoidantly attached for not posting him on my stories. I was deflecting when I made a joke mid-argument. He had a phrase for every feeling, a diagnosis for every boundary. He never raised his voice. He never swore. He just made me feel like every no needed a bibliography. NSFW but YouTube friendly. When we did finally tip from restraint into the kind of closeness that fogs windows, he was gentle, verbal, careful. He asked, he listened, he slowed down when I guided his hand. For a while afterward, lying in that expensive-smelling quiet, I believed the story he told about himself, maturity as a soft place to land. He kissed my wrist and said, "I feel safe with you." I wanted to feel the same. Then came the like on a friend's photo. Nothing racy, nothing weird, just me tapping a picture while bored on the train. That evening he asked why I'd never posted him, but always give attention to others. I said it wasn't that deep. He said defensiveness is a sign of emotional dishonesty. It spiraled. I stood up, grabbed my bag. "We're not in session, Tony." He said, "You're proving my point." His voice was gentle. His words felt like a door closing. The next morning, my boss asked to see me. She had an email printed on her desk. The subject line said, "Concern for a colleague's well-being." She read it like she wished it would erase itself as she spoke. It was from Tony. Full name, job title, signature block with a calendar link. He wrote that I'd shown alarming signs of burnout and emotional instability, and that, out of care, he wanted to flag it to my workplace so they could support me appropriately. He cited examples: me canceling a dinner, me withdrawing from healthy connection, me performing competence while privately struggling. It was written like a wellness memo. It felt like a knife wrapped in a hug. My boss asked if I needed time off. I stared at the email and felt heat crawl my neck. I told her he was an ex who didn't take boundaries well. She believed me, but HR still sent a gentle check-in. Did I need resources? It wasn't their fault. The harm had been designed to look like help. It started like most app matches, harmless, easy, kind of funny. Ellie had this dry, sarcastic line in her bio. Fair split, fair heart. The photos were casual and a little chaotic. Wind-snatched hair on a ferry, a selfie with a seagull photobombing, a mirror shot where a bright orange jumper did most of the flirting. Nothing filtered, nothing try-hard. She seemed normal, which felt like a win already. We started chatting about coffee, trash TV, bad dates, whether splitting bills should be standard if both people work. She wrote, "I always pay my half. Equality matters." I typed back something like, "Deal." I wasn't auditioning for a wallet anyway, and she sent a laughing emoji and a receipt gif. Cute, I thought. Organized. Maybe a tad intense, but who isn't? First date, a little pasta place in the city, weekday quiet, clink of forks and low lighting that politely blurred everyone's pores. Ellie showed up exactly on time, orange jumper, hair clipped, confident like she'd already done a dress rehearsal. Conversation flowed, good bread, bad exes, travel stories that didn't end with a pyramid selfie. When the bill came, she leaned in before I could reach it. "I'll transfer my half," she said, already opening an app. I didn't argue. Balance can be sexy. We hugged goodbye and she smelled like citrus and printer paper, clean, decisive. Second date, mini golf, her pick. She was mock competitive, narrating each miss like a sports commentator. And she lines up, and absolutely bottles it. I laughed more than I meant to. We grabbed smoothies after. She asked for the total down to the cent and shot me exactly half on the spot, adding a note. +1 for your excellent heckling. Slightly over the top, but it fit the brand, tidy, fair, slightly ironed. By the third date, the ledger peeped through the curtains. "I paid for the Uber last time, so this one's yours. Parking was $12, which I don't mind because you bought dessert." None of it was unreasonable, just measured. Still, I liked her. I liked how focused she was when I spoke, like I was a spreadsheet cell she had personal affection for. We went to a comedy show. She laughed harder than anyone, loud, free, like she was proving fun was part of her KPI. Afterwards, we walked the waterfront and talked about exes, money, and why so many people say low maintenance but mean no needs. It felt real in that way early dates sometimes do, when you start rehearsing the how we met story in the back of your head. 2 days later, I got an email. Not a text. An email. Subject line, "Where we're at." I opened it smiling, expecting a dorky recap. It was an invoice. Like a legit invoice. Her name at the top. ABN under it. Itemized list. 3 hours conversation prep plus emotional availability. $150. 2 hours shared activities. Amortized $80. Emotional energy expenditure. Post-show debrief $60. Gas plus travel. Inner city $25. Administrative follow-up. This invoice $15. Total $330. There was a polite payment window, a line about valuing women's time, and preferred pay ID. At the very bottom, in italics, Non-payment may incur an emotional closure fee. I stared like it might morph into a meme if I blinked enough. Who invoices for dating? I waited for the kidding. Text that never came. Checked the sender address twice. Yep, Ellie. Read it again in case I missed a punchline. Nothing. I didn't respond. Silence felt clear. 2 days later, a follow-up email. Hey, I noticed the invoice hasn't been settled. I'd appreciate it if you respected my time. Respect my okay. Now my brain split, half furious, half weirdly fascinated. On one hand, audacity. On the other, the ugly truth. Women's time gets used up like free samples at a supermarket. Maybe this was her way of refusing to be the booth. But $60 for post-show debrief? Administrative fee for the invoice you chose to send? I told a friend. He asked to see it and then laughed until he cried, which made me laugh in that I'm fine, everything's fine way. I slept on it. Woke up to another email with a PDF attached. Same invoice, now stamped with a red due date and a $10 late fee. She'd gone full accounts receivable on romance. I blocked her email. Not because I won, more like I opted out of whatever genre this was. The thing is, the story didn't end there. It hung around and poked at me. Because yes, the invoice was unhinged, but also hadn't I enjoyed the neatness? The certainty? The little thrill of not being auditioned for provider? Sometimes fairness is hot. Sometimes precision is a kink we don't name. A month later, I saw her at a coffee shop, Surrey Hills, midday, a queue of tote bags. She was with a guy who had that early in the relationship posture, shoulders up, attention bright. She leaned forward the same way she had across from me, and laughed big. When our eyes met, she gave me this crisp, knowing look. Not cruel, not apologetic, just filed. I left before she could see me doing the math again. Here's the part one haven't said. We had chemistry. Not fireworks, not the mattresses on the floor kind, but chemistry you could build a life on. The kind that makes you whisper things on a sidewalk you wouldn't normally say. And, yeah, there was a slow burn under the civics lecture. The way she'd glance at my mouth when I talked. The way her hand would settle on my wrist like a paperweight. After the comedy show we kissed once, the sort of kiss that says we're not teenagers, we know what we're doing, and I'd be lying if I said my knees didn't do the micro bend. She tasted like lime and something sharper, maybe the future bill. I thought about that kiss when the invoice hit, because the last line item, emotional energy expenditure, suddenly sounded expandable. What if we'd gone further? Would there be a surcharge? Intimacy add-on, peak hours. Kissing fee, public holiday. I pictured the orange jumper on my floor, the neat folded receipt on my bedside table. My brain is a gremlin, it made a whole scene out of it. Her in that jumper, glasses on, murmuring, "Look at you," finally itemizing, like a compliment and a dare, then tapping my chest with a capped pen and saying, "That part's billable." Safe for YouTube version, but still, the mix of heat and ledger made my pulse do an anxious drum solo. Maybe that's the creep in it. Not that she asked for money, but that she brought a system into a place that's supposed to be messy. Love's not a charity, sure, but it's also not a retainer agreement. There's this small, reckless luxury in doing something for someone without calculating the ROI. A luxury that turns into a liability if only one person is ever paying. I don't think Ellie was a villain. I think she was tired. I think somewhere along the way she learned that if she didn't price her hours, they disappeared. That if she didn't call care labor, people called it nothing. Maybe she started keeping receipts because nobody else did. I can sympathize with that and still not want to be a line item. You ever get that weird gut feeling before a date? Like something's slightly off, but you can't name it. That was me before meeting Jared. We'd been chatting for 2 weeks, mostly late at night when the apps feel like empty hallways. He sent voice notes about how people fake confidence online and how everything is a performance now. I figured he was just thoughtful, maybe too into podcasts, but not a red flag yet. He was funny, good at timing the joke after the heavy thought, and he actually used punctuation, which is rarer than green flags these days. He suggested tacos at the food truck park with a live band. Public, bright, casual. I said yes. When I arrived, he was already seated at one of the metal tables near the back, hoodie up even though it wasn't cold. He waved like he'd been waiting specifically for me, not for a video to start rolling. The first thing I noticed was a small silver clip on his t-shirt. I thought it was a pin. He said it was a mic for a personal vlog, like a voice diary. People document everything. I didn't make it a thing. The date was fun. We split a pile of messy tacos, and he teased me for attacking mine like it owed me money. Music was too loud, so we leaned in. He asked real questions. The last time I felt proud of myself, whether I ever pretended to be cooler online. It was intense without being creepy. When the Chuo truck opened, he bought one and fed me a piece like we were actors in a soft, low-budget rom-com. It should have been cringe, it wasn't. I liked him. I liked the way he listened. I liked that he didn't check his phone while I was talking. But he kept glancing toward a corner of the lot where a few people stood with their phones up. I made a joke. "You got paparazzi?" And he laughed it off. "Friends from the gym," he said. "They help me shoot stuff sometimes." The churn in my stomach was small, like background noise. I told myself not to be dramatic. We wandered to the darker end of the park where the lights blur and the air smells like cilantro and diesel. He brushed hair from my face with 2 fingers like we'd practiced it. He kissed me, warm, careful, with that cinematic half-step in between breaths. Not explicit, not messy, the kind of kiss that says, "We're not teenagers, but we remember." My body said yes before my brain finished the sentence. He rested his palm on the small of my back, and the world went a little soft focus. I realized somewhere in there that the mic was still on his shirt. For half a heartbeat, the thought flickered, is this part of it? Then it vanished, buried under the heat of being wanted. The next morning he texted, "Had a great time. You're rare." He added a winky face, which I forgave because the ellipsis softened me. He asked about a thrift market that weekend. I said maybe, tiny bubble of doubt, but I still liked him. I told my roommate about the mic, and she shrugged. "Content guys," she said, "like whether you dress for. Relax." 2 days later I was doom-scrolling YouTube, half asleep, when a thumbnail grabbed my neck. A hoodie, a familiar jawline, a caption in bold white text. "She doesn't know she's part of the experiment." My stomach flipped the way roller coasters make children find religion. I clicked. There he was, same hoodie, same taco park, same table. My face was blurred, yes, but my voice wasn't. He'd added subtitles. He'd labeled me Subject 4. Title card, Episode 4, Testing Authenticity in Modern Dating. It wasn't a vlog. It was a documentary. Cold, clean, edited within an inch of its soul. It cut from my laugh to his talking head. When faced with uncomfortable truths, the authentic react differently from the performative. Then clips, me telling a story, his mic catching my little inhale before I answer. A freeze frame with text bubbles like vulnerability achieved at 20 minutes and 16 seconds. I could hear myself asking him about the mic, hear him wave it off. The captions turned my sentences into examples. The background music framed me like evidence. I didn't finish it. I scrolled to the comments. People called me sweet but naive. A good subject. Proof that women want the illusion more than the truth. Someone wrote, "She's exactly the kind this experiment exposes." I wanted to crawl out of my skin and then set the old one on fire. I texted him, "Take it down. Now." No answer. A few hours later he posted again. Why people can't handle honesty. Not about me, not directly. But there was a line about subjects who confuse ego with reality. He'd framed my anger as a data point. I reported the first video. It came down eventually, but not before it hit 6 figures and a hydra of smaller channels re-uploaded fragments. The internet's a swamp. Once you toss something in, it grows teeth. I'd met him everywhere. He blocked me and updated his bio. Filmmaker, truth above comfort. Merch link. T-shirts. My nausea had a soundtrack, his voice calmly explaining why the world needed to see behind the mask. For a week I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the hallway sounded like a lens cap popping off. I googled myself at 2 a.m. and found a clip on TikTok, my blurred face, my unblurred laugh, captioned, "When your date becomes content." It had a dumb audio and 10,000 shares. Friends texted screenshots like they were sending me a weather report. I started deleting photos, tightening privacy settings, turning my life into a small locked box. Then he went on a podcast. I lasted 6 minutes. He talked about the ethics of disclosure, about how telling people about the camera ruins the experiment. The host called him bold. He called himself necessary. He said he'd been banned from a couple of apps due to misunderstandings, and the host laughed like it was a charming anecdote. I closed my laptop and sat in the dark like a bad painting. I met Anna during a stretch when I promised myself not to take dating apps too seriously. I just crawled out of a messy situationship and wanted a season of low stakes. "You seem grounded," she wrote. No pickup line, no emoji parade. Just steady. We traded easy messages about work, music, and the way social media turns everybody's face into a brand. She mentioned she did photography and was building a body positivity project for her portfolio. I asked what that meant. She said it was about seeing people as they are, not as they audition to be. I liked that. It sounded thoughtful without being pretentious. I pictured soft light and freckles instead of Photoshop. We met in the park. It was one of those heavy summer afternoons where the air feels like it's holding your shoulders. She wore a white button-up and thrifted jeans, hair knotted in that deliberately careless way that takes 20 tries. She moved quick, laughed quick, talked like she was trying to outrun silence. I liked the speed. It distracted me from my own. Second hang, she brought a camera. "Just candid stuff," she said, and I believed her. We walked. She asked me to look away from the lens, then look back, then not look at all. She showed me a few shots on the screen, grain that looked intentional, shadows that made me seem mysterious. I told her she had an eye. She grinned like I'd said something bigger. After that we started orbiting each other. Drinks some nights, late edits at her place other nights. Her apartment was a shoebox gallery. Old cameras stacked like books, clamps and backdrops. A kitchen table stained with coffee rings and silver gaffer tape. A sticky note above her desk read, "People Perfection." She said it stopped her from over-editing. It made me trust her. One humid evening, she asked if I'd help with the project again. "Different body types," she said, "to prove beauty has no single blueprint." I asked what help meant. She said, "Just be natural. Comfortable." She said it without sleaze, and that mattered. I thought maybe a shirtless portrait, something tasteful. She dimmed the lamps, put on soft music, and guided me through the kind of staged casual that looks real in print. "Tilt your jaw. Breathe. Don't perform. Just exist." I laughed, then stopped laughing because she was serious. It was awkward, but not creepy. More vulnerable than I expected, like changing a shirt in a room with the door half closed. We kissed once, quiet, unhurried. The sort of kiss that tastes like someone else's chapstick and possibility. It didn't feel like step 2 of a plan. It felt like two people who liked the same light. Then she went a little foggy. Her texts got shorter. Her posts got longer. Quotes about truth and courage, captions about letting the body speak. I didn't connect the dots until a friend DM'd me. "Dude, isn't this you?" There it was on her photography page, project, Real Bodies. A black and white portrait of my torso, half in shadow, face just off frame. Recognizable to anyone who knew me. The caption read, "He told me he hated his reflection until I showed him what I saw." I never said that. The comments were worshipful. So raw. So brave. We needed this. My stomach went elevator drop. I texted her. "Why would you post that without asking?" Hours passed. Then, it's art. You agreed to be part of the project. Your discomfort is the point. Like my body was her thesis statement, and I was lucky to make the bibliography. I told her to take it down. She said no. "If I ask permission for honesty," she typed, "people will ask me to lie for them." I tried reporting the post. Nothing happened. It spread, shares, story reposts, little essay-length captions by strangers who decided what I meant. My skin became discourse. My tattoos turned into symbols in a language I didn't speak. We didn't see each other for weeks. I blocked her, unblocked her, typed messages I didn't send. She meanwhile was thriving. Local art blogs interviewed her. Reclaiming vulnerability, they wrote. Unfiltered truth. She gave lines that sounded like poems and deeds that felt like theft. Every photo is a mirror we're afraid to face. Cute. Who asked you to hold the mirror? One night I wandered into a small gallery opening with a friend who didn't check the flyer. The wall text, project, Real Bodies, an exploration by Anna. My name wasn't anywhere, but my body was printed large and matte, the caption rephrased like scripture. Seeing it in person felt different, worse. In a feed, you can scroll. On a wall, you have to stand there while your skin turns into a room temperature. People whispered adjectives about me like I wasn't 3 feet away inside my own nerves. She spotted me. Of course she did. She approached with a wine glass and a smile that tried to be gentle. "You should be proud," she said. "People connected with your image." Not with me. With my image. I looked at the print, the way light painted my chest into a sermon, and said, "That's not your story to tell." She tilted her head in the way photographers do when they're pretending to see a better angle. "But it's true," she said. "I only show what's true." I wanted to ask whose truth gets to be published. I wanted to ask when honesty turns into extraction. Instead I left, because on some level I knew she would photograph my outrage if she could. Here's the not safe for work part the algorithm can stomach. I still remember the way she set that room. The soft lamp, the vinyl turning, her fingertip at my jaw, the way she said good, when I exhaled and let my shoulders drop. None of it felt dirty. It felt intimate, the kind of intimacy that hums behind your ribs and makes you a little stupid. That's the part she borrowed. Not the skin. The hush. The sound your mouth makes when you're seen and you believe it's safe. She took that sound and hung it on a wall. He said, "You'd hate how loud I chew." And I still met him anyway. Burger place by the station, Tuesday night, neon buzzing like a fly that won't leave. Max arrived in a denim jacket and that quiet confidence you can't fake. Phone pocketed, eyes steady, like he'd practiced how not to rush. He smelled like soap and rain. We ordered at the counter, and he tipped before they even turned the iPad around. When we sat, he folded his napkin like it had a set of instructions. He was easy to talk to. Not dazzling, not dead-eyed, easy. We hit the usual. Siblings, old-school disasters, bands we pretended to like to impress someone who never noticed. When the toddler at the next table started launching fries like confetti, I said, "That's my worst nightmare." He grinned and asked, "The fries or the kid?" I said both. He nodded, not judgy, just curious, and asked if I'd always felt that way. I told him yes. Not a debate. Not trauma. Just a decision with no fireworks. He took that in like an architect looking at a clean line. "I respect that," he said, and meant it with his eyes. When the check came, he didn't do the dance. "Let me," he said. "You get next time." It was grown up without being transactional, and it put my shoulders down. Next time happened fast. Max cooked at his place, tiny apartment, plants on the sill, a stack of half-finished blueprints on the table like he'd paused mid-idea to make dinner. He chopped vegetables with the care of someone who believed things should become what they're meant to be. We ate on the couch. He asked about my childhood like he was taking careful measurements. I asked about his. His mother sounded warm, his father sounded practical. He said he used to picture a house full of noise, and then shrugged. "Now I'm not sure," he said. It was a careful shrug, the kind you do when you're revising a plan, not scrapping it. We slid into a schedule that didn't feel like a schedule. Tuesday burgers turned into Thursday pasta, turned into Sunday mornings where he brewed coffee like a ceremony. When he kissed me, it was like finding the right key on the first try. No frantic patting pockets. He didn't push, didn't narrate his own restraint. It felt like choice, not performance. He'd trace my jaw with a fingertip and say my name soft like it had more vowels than usual. Grown warm, not messy. The kind of intimacy that makes you believe your skin made sense to someone else. A few weeks in, kids came up again. Not like an argument. Like weather. We were lying around, the curtains making lazy stripes on the floor. "You really never picture it?" he asked, turning the question over, examining the edges. "Even later?" I said no. He nodded slow. "I used to want it," he said. "Now I'm not sure." It felt honest. Neutral. I let it settle. Little things started to drift in. Nothing dramatic. Just static. Instagram suggested parenting accounts to me out of nowhere. When I clicked his following list, don't pretend you wouldn't, I saw a handful of dad bloggers and nursery design pages. I teased him. "Secret obsession?" He laughed. Said he was designing a daycare concept at work and needed vibes. Plausible. Architects collect references like magpies. But then came the compliments with hidden hooks. "You'd be a great mom," he said once, casual, like commenting on my shoes. "You've got the calm." Another time, "You remember vitamins without setting an alarm? That's how you know you'd keep a little one thriving." I rolled my eyes and kissed him to change the subject. He smiled into it, satisfied, like he'd planted a seed in soft earth. One weekend, I stayed over. He left early for a meeting, kissed my forehead, and told me to sleep in. I padded to the bathroom to wash my face, and saw an open drawer, not fully closed. Inside, a pack of vitamins that looked exactly like mine, same brand color, different label. Prenatal supplements. Half empty. My stomach dropped like it missed a step. I stood there too long, running through excuses on his behalf. Gift for a friend. Leftover from someone else. Health kick. The drawer didn't care. The bottle didn't wink. The label stared. I asked him later. He didn't blink. "Oh, those? For a friend at work." She kept forgetting hers, and I had an extra. He said it so calmly that for a moment I felt rude for doubting. But after that, paranoia bloomed like mold. I started pouring my own wine. I kept my water bottle with me. I double-checked my pills, dates, receipts, stupid things that shouldn't belong in a love story but now lived in mine. He grew tender when conversation got close to fate. Not romantic tender. Lobbyist tender. Some people change their minds when the right person comes along, he said once, warm hand on my knee, voice low like confession. I told him I wasn't some puzzle for a man to solve. I know, he murmured. Sometimes people just need help seeing their future. Help. Future. The words hung like fog. He got quiet for a few days after I pushed back. Short texts. A martyred emoji I couldn't unsee. Then a post popped up on a quote account with handwriting I recognized. Some women think they don't want children until they're loved correctly. The caption, I'm patient. No tag. No name. But the strokes were his. I blocked the account and felt my scalp prickle like my hair knew something I didn't. I went to his apartment to get my sweater and my toothbrush and the book I kept pretending I was reading. He acted normal, like the air wasn't charged. When I brought up the post, he laughed. You're dramatic, he said, affectionate and dismissive. Then, you'll thank me one day if I change your mind. It wasn't a joke. It had the tone of a promise dressed as a compliment. Change it how? I asked. He only smiled, the way a person smiles when the blueprint is already on the wall, hidden under a sheet. I left with my things and a feeling like I hadn't left entirely. A week later at a cafe, a woman I sort of knew from a mutual's party tapped my shoulder. You dated Max, right? She asked. Her face did that I'm not sure if I should tell you thing, and then decided yes. She said he'd pressured her to stop birth control because natural love shouldn't need plastic. He'd talked about accidental blessings, like they were a plan with better PR. She said she'd left when he got weird about her tracking app. He knows everything about cycles, she said, and shivered like the word itself had teeth. My brain grabbed all the puzzle pieces I'd been politely placing apart and slammed them together. Vitamins, compliments, quotes. That soft tone he used when he thought care could be consent's substitute. I texted him, we're done. He didn't argue. He replied, you'll always be the one who ran from her own potential. It was meant to sound wise. It sounded like a locked door. I scrubbed him from my phone, my browser, my reflexes. For a while, I felt crazy for how careful I'd become with cups and capsules and conversation. Then I remembered the drawer, the bottle, the handwriting. Paranoia isn't paranoia when the math adds up. He asked me to take his picture before he asked my name again. Rooftop bar, neon sign buzzing over a skyline that pretends to be romantic. Liam picked the place. Obvious once I saw the swing chairs and the wall of tropical leaves begging to be a backdrop. He was already there, leaning on the rail in a cream jacket, the kind of handsome that looks edited. We hugged hello, and before I could sit, he handed me his phone. Can you get a couple? Portrait. Tap for focus. I laughed because sure. Click, click. He checked them like a jeweler. One more, chin up, lights behind. He smiled at me after, like we'd shared something intimate. Maybe we had. Not a secret, a standard. He was charming in that smooth, preheated way. He asked questions and held eye contact. When I joked about the menu's 6 kinds of water, he laughed exactly on time. He told me he did social media and brand work, the vague umbrella that keeps you dry in any storm. He had 200,000 followers, mostly community, not fans. He said that like it mattered. We ordered fries in small plates that arrived in artisan boats. He angled his dish toward the city lights, twitched the salt, and filmed it. You don't mind, right? I didn't. The bar was half ring lights anyway. When the music thumped low and we had to lean in, he brushed a knuckle under my chin in a way that made my chest fizz. NSFW but YouTube safe. When he finally kissed me, it was gentle and confident, thumb pressed at the hinge of my jaw like he knew I'd open right there. I did. The city hummed around us like a studio. Date 2, a plant-filled cafe with latte art that looked like graduate work. He slid into the seat with that easy grin. We talked about everything light and nothing deep. A couple came over to say they loved his skincare review. He promised a discount code and squeezed my knee under the table. Later, he posted an overhead shot of the coffees, his hand in frame, my wrist cropped clean out. Caption: good company, better crema. Comments flooded with hard eyes and proposals. I laughed, but it snagged. We spent more time together. Parks with murals, beach at golden hour, a random brick alley with a mural that said live, laugh, lift. Every location happened to be photogenic. He could be present when the camera wasn't out. He listened. He remembered my favorite dumplings. He rubbed circles at the base of my skull like he was erasing a headache. At night, he'd put the phone down and kiss me like we were off-grid. We were good together in the quiet. Safe, warm, the kind of close that makes you forget to monitor your breathing. Then his alarm would ping. Post. He'd sit up, tweak a caption, ask, "Does this read thirsty?" I'd watch his face as the like started. The small relief first, then the climb, then the stillness if it stalled. I wasn't begging to be posted, but a pattern emerged. He shared everything except me. His breakfast bowls, his gym workouts, his friend's dog, guest star credited. Me? Negative space. When I teased him, "Your followers must think you're celibate," he flashed the apology smile. Being publicly single helps engagement. It's strategy. Brands like a clean narrative. Clean narrative, I repeated. Like bleach. He reached for my hand. Don't take it personally. That was the problem. It wasn't personal to him. It was metrics. He never introduced me as his girlfriend. He introduced me as "this is," with a nod and a quick change of subject. He didn't tag me in photos, even the ones I took. Once in a mirror shot, my silhouette appeared behind him. I thought it was an accident until I saw the crop on his feed. There I wasn't. He made up for it in private. He was generous with attention and touch, the kind of affectionate that could turn your phone face down for hours. NSFW but still suitable. We'd kiss until we were breathless, laugh into each other's mouths, and then slow down like we remembered cameras exist in other rooms. He'd tuck my hair behind my ear and murmur, "I like us when it's just us." Then the world crept in again. On a walk downtown, someone recognized him and asked for a selfie. When I laced my fingers through his afterward, he gently let go. "Just in case they post," he whispered. It felt like being peeled off a sticker you didn't know you were on. We fought once, softly at first, about being hidden. "A photo with me isn't a scandal," I said. "It's a fact." He explained engagement curves and audience retention. People invest more when they imagine possibility. He didn't say possibility of what. He didn't have to. "You want them to want you," I said. He shrugged. "That's the job." He kissed my temple like a consolation prize and promised a couple's soft launch later. Later kept moving. The numbers ran his moods. If a post didn't hit 1,000 likes in 10 minutes, he'd go quiet. Delete. Draft. Repost. He tracked graphs like a cardiologist, eyes flicking, up, plateau, down. When I reached for him after a dud post, his body was there, but his attention wasn't. He scrolled his own face like it was a patient. The final straw was an invite. A brand event, rooftop again, free drinks, goodie bags that cost rent. "You can't come," he said, like he was sparing me. "It confuses the audience." He delivered it gently, as if gentleness could make the sentence less ugly. "Your audience gets confused by women existing?" I asked. "It's not like that," he said, already texting a stylist. "It's business." I left quietly because shouting would have just become content. We ended on a Tuesday. He didn't beg. He nodded, sat in that soft, reflective way that looks beautiful on camera. "I get it," he said. "Timing, not alignment." The next day he posted a moody photo from his window, rain on glass, candle, caption, "Choosing myself." Comments poured in. "Proud of you, King." "Healing arc." "She didn't deserve you." A brand commented a white heart. The first night I went to his place, the air smelled like roasted corn and rain. Yaba traffic had finally unclenched, Okadas hissing past like impatient lizards, and the whole street hummed with generator music, different pitches arguing with each other. I carried small nylon of suya under my arm because my mother raised me to never show up empty-handed, even if the person you're visiting swears they've sorted dinner. He had texted, "I'm upstairs. Gate is open. I'll throw the key." I thought it was joke banter, guys and their nonsense. I stood by the black iron gate and typed, "I'm here." A window slid open on the second floor. I could see only his wristwatch moving in the rectangle of light. Then keys fell. Not lowered by string or kindness. Thrown. They hit the ground with that sharp, metallic cackle keys do when they enjoy being dramatic, bounced once, twice, and skittered under the hibiscus bush where the compound cat likes to keep secrets. I stared at the window, then at my palms. "So you can't come down?" I said half to him, half to the generator. He laughed from upstairs like we were doing choreography. "Aha, babe, just pick it now. I'm hungry, oh." I picked the keys because I was trying to be cool, because new romance makes you ignore tiny stones in your shoe. The night guard, Baba Monday, pretended not to watch, but I saw the smile hiding in his beard. I pushed open the gate and climbed. Upstairs, the door was already ajar, like hospitality by remote control. He kissed my forehead, mumbled something about traffic, kissed the suya properly. We ate, we talked. He was funny in that way. Lagos boys perfect, agile, like they can dodge anything, even accountability. When he walked me back down later, he didn't. He stood at the top of the stairs and said, "Text me when you reach." I held the keys out. He said, "Just drop with Baba Monday." I told myself it was nothing. I told myself independence looks like doing stairs alone. The keys were cold in my palm the whole Uber home. The second time, afternoon rain had finished scolding the roof and the compound smelled fresh, like all the dust had been forgiven. I wore my yellow dress because he once said, "You look like afternoon in that color," and I wanted to be an hour. He remembered. He texted again, "I'm upstairs, we'll throw key." My phone almost slipped from my hand. I laughed, just a small laugh. We all choose our battles, and typed back, "Come and meet me." The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, returned like a shy goat. "Babe, I'm in Callabeg. Gimme 2 minutes. I'll throw." The window opened, that watch again, and this time the keys fell into the exact same circle of shade beside the hibiscus. Like they had a favorite place, like the ground was in collaboration. I bent, lifted, felt the grit scratch my palm. A neighbor's child sang Baby Shark, off key, every doo-doo-doo, a little stab in my temples. I imagined knocking on somebody else's door and introducing myself. "Hi, I'm the girl who catches keys." I went up anyway, because we had movie plans and I had already paid with my time. He kissed me like nothing was weird. During the movie, he kept touching my knee like a fidget toy. When I asked, "Why can't you come downstairs?" he said, without pausing the scene, Lagos stare day long. Besides, you strong. You know I like independent woman." He smiled as if he had given me a compliment, and I smiled back with half my mouth because the other half was busy holding a question. We slept. By morning, I felt the answer sitting on my chest like a lazy cat. I was being auditioned for convenience, not partnership. Third time was Sunday, the hour between hot church rice and evening naps when the whole city gets briefly soft. I wasn't planning to go. My plan was bleaching my bathtub and minding my business. He called during the bleach. "Come na. I bought bowl. I even bought fish because of you." I could hear the grin through the line. So I went because my mother also raised me to enjoy plantain when called. When I got there, Baba Monday had tuned his radio to high life, and the compound cat was conducting a meeting with 3 lizards. I messaged, at gate. He replied instantly, "I'm coming." The window opened. The watch flashed. The keys flew. This time I didn't move. It wasn't anger yet. It was clarity, which is quieter and deeper. "Guy," I shouted, smiling so the neighbors wouldn't say I was dramatic. "You know fit come down?" From upstairs. "Aha, babe. Don't start. It's hot. Just pick it." I looked at the keys in their favorite shadow, at my yellow sandals, at the gate that had never once greeted me with a human face when it could greet me with falling metal. I bent, picked the keys with 2 fingers like they were something that might bite, weighed them once, twice, and then turned my wrist and sent them back with a neat little arc. They glittered midair, surprised, and landed at his door with a hard, satisfying clink. The sound had the finality of a stamp. A neighbor on the 2nd floor coughed laughter into her wrapper. The child who sings Baby Shark whispered, "Ani throw." Baba Monday said, very quietly, "Ehen." From above, a scrambling. The door swung, he appeared, hair skewed like the Sunday nap had not finished with him. He stared at me through the stairwell, not coming, not waving, weighing himself against the distance between us. "What is all this?" he said, keys in his hand as if caught stealing. "All what?" I said, softness gone from my voice like power restored after outage. "Come downstairs. Open the gate. Be a host. Be a person." He sighed, like I had asked him to carry 3rd Mainland Bridge on his head. He took 1 slow step, then another, dramatist without audience because I refused to look impressed. When he reached the last step, something had shifted, not just in his face, but in the space between us. The lazy charm had broken, and I could see the math he liked to do, minimum effort for maximum access. He opened the gate, and I walked past him into the courtyard, not up the stairs. "We can sit here," I said, pointing at the plastic chairs under the almond tree. The bowl wrapped in newspaper waited on a stool, its pepper threatening to bite. He brought it down. We ate in the courtyard with the lizards auditing, bright red sauce freckling the newspaper like warning signs. He tried to be sweet, to reset the script. I asked him about his day, and he answered. I asked him why he never came down, and he told me stairs and heat, and you're strong. I told him, strength is not an excuse to refuse respect. He blinked. So if I came down, what difference will it make? All, I said. It will make all the difference. He smiled, small, uncertain. Okay, I will be coming down. Promises like that in Lagos are light as sachet water. But sometimes you give them a chance to become heavier. He walked me to the gate when I was leaving. It felt like a ceremony. He held the keys properly, slid them in, turned, pushed. I stepped onto the street, and the city's heat hugged me back. He said, "Text me when you get home." I said I would. He watched until my Uber swallowed me. For the first time, I didn't have to text Baba Monday to lock behind me. He texted, "Come over, we'll stick on a film," like it was the most harmless sentence in the world. Grand, says I, because sometimes you want harmless more than you want fireworks. I pulled on my old raincoat, the hood like a sulky halo, and walked the 35 minutes across the city. Proper Irish evening. Damp air licking the hair at the back of your neck, chip shop steam arguing with the smell of wet stone. I counted dogs. I counted lit windows. I counted how long it had been since I watched a film that wasn't half on my phone. His building was one of those new ones that try to look expensive by having no personality. He buzzed me in and shouted down the stairwell. Doors open, which I'll admit I did not love. Still, up I went, knocking for form's sake, and the door swung back on its own as if the flat was doing the welcoming for him. No candles, no snacks, no Netflix screen idling. Just him on the couch, all elbows and intention. "Hey," I said, taking off the raincoat like a truce. "What are we watching?" "Come here to me," he says, patting the cushion beside him without even glancing at the remote. And then straight away, hands at my waist like he was trying to win a teddy at the fair. I laugh a little, the friendly kind that's also a warning, and I go, "Easy now. We set a film." "Ah, sure," he says, already leaning in. "We'll put it on in a minute." "No, we'll put it on now." I tell him, not unkind, just definite. I'm a big believer in definite. He sits back, but only the width of a breath, like a cat pretending not to be on the counter. "What do you fancy?" I ask, reaching for the remote that, interestingly, is nowhere to be seen. He shrugs. "Whatever." His hand lands on my knee again, and there's something so bored about it I could scream. Like he's ticking boxes on a clipboard. Kiss attempt, complete. Movie, optional. Right? I say, standing, because sometimes vertical is the only boundary men notice. "I'm going to head." "Head where?" he says, confused as a toddler. "Home," I say, putting my head back up. "We said a film." "You said a film. You didn't mean a film." "That's fine, but I didn't walk 35 minutes for 5 minutes of you making grabs." He huffs like I've insulted his heritage. "You're overreacting." "Am I, yeah?" I say, smiling the way my mother taught me to when I'm done being polite. "Tell it to the remote." He doesn't follow me to the door, of course he doesn't, and the hallway smells like someone else's dinner and new carpet. The night's still there, waiting like a patient taxi. Back out into the mist with my cheeks hot and my hands cold. I take the same road home, and it's a different city, familiar, friendly. There's a woman in a takeaway wearing slippers under her coat. There's a fella cycling with a baguette sticking up from his backpack like a periscope. I pass a window where Casablanca is playing on an ancient telly, and I nearly knock to ask if I can watch the last half hour. Halfway back, I laugh properly. At myself for going. At him for thinking effort is a one-way street. At the notion that come over for a film is a spell you can cast to skip the simple work of being sound. By the time I reach my own door, the rain has tucked itself away, the street shining like a fresh start. I make tea real strong and pick a film I've seen 10 times, comfort poured out of a kettle. When the credits roll, I text my friend. Went for a movie. Got a trailer. Walked home. She sends back a string of cinema emojis and one small crown. I said I'd order for myself. He grinned like it was foreplay. To be fair, the date ticked along fine. He was good at nodding, good at finding the exact moment to reach for my hand, and then not quite take it. After dinner he walked me to this tiny gelato spot, locals only, which I later Googled and learned was in a listicle titled 5 Places Everyone Knows. He got pistachio, I got blood orange. "Perfect," he said. "You're citrus, I'm earth." Opposites handshake. I didn't know what that meant, but I smiled because I am polite and it was a nice night. At his apartment, he did the tour with a flourish that suggested prior rehearsals. This is the balcony where I think. A pause for me to step out and say, nice view. This is the plan I almost killed, then rescued, bit like my heart. He pointed to a framed poster with French on it and said, I love the way it refuses to translate. In the hall he brushed my shoulder and murmured, kissing's just a handshake for souls. I laughed, part surprise, part secondhand embarrassment, and let him kiss me because it felt easier than writing an essay about boundaries in his doorway. We didn't sleep together. He was gracious about it, or performed graciousness convincingly. When I left, he tapped my phone and said, let's keep it easy. The next day he sent a song that sounded like a Pinterest mood board and a photo of a flat white captioned, for you. 2 weeks later, I'm at a cafe on Brunswick with my best friend, Liv, doing the debrief we always do, date autopsy, meme exchange, minor outfit regrets. I start telling her about the balcony where he thinks and the soul handshake line, and Liv stops stirring her coffee. Wait, she says, spoon midair, was the gelato place on the corner with the chalkboard that says ciao babes? Yes. And the plant, was it a fiddle leaf fig named Leif Erikson? My mouth actually fell open. He said it was ironic. Liv puts her phone on the table and scrolls to a photo of the same balcony. Same view, same poster, same tour. Same one-liner. Kissing's a handshake for souls. She'd texted me 3 months ago, and I, busy and single and terminally optimistic, had skimmed it and sent back a heart. We compared dates like crime scene analysts. Same restaurant, same seat by the window, same honest Pinot, same locals-only gelato, same hand on the lower back at exactly the same beat in the walk between. His Spotify For You song to her was identical, right down to the made me think of you message. The only thing different was the color of our nails. He picked the speakeasy, which was a green flag, until he laughed. Not like a normal like knee-slapping, head-lolling, full-on seal at SeaWorld, at things that were not jokes. I'd say, yeah, I grew up near a cornfield, and he'd cackle so loud the bartender jumped. I sipped my cute martini and told myself, Grace, be a generous girl. He vaped between sentences, ick, called me hun twice, double ick, and I still did the mental split. Maybe he's nervous, maybe I'm judgy. We left for the second spot. In the Uber he asked, you got AUX? Before his butt hit the seat. The driver said yes, and this man said, crank it up, then started dancing. Not bopping. Dancing. Solo, front seatless rave. Elbows. Shoulder isolations. A head roll that made the car's dome light feel complicit. I looked out the window and tried to pretend I was a documentary narrator. Here we observed the Midwestern male in his mating display. Cody's was on my list. A dive that smells like popcorn and old stories, dog-friendly, darts in the corner. Let's sit in the back, I said, low-key. He scanned the room like it was his living room. For 5 minutes we were normal. I got THC drops instead of a drink. He ordered popcorn. Then he clocked the dart board, occupied by a whole table of people, and decided darts was our destiny. He put his arm around some random guy and goes, wanna play? The man said, no, because the table was literally in front of the board. Geography, undefeated. Okay, I tried again, corner time. He returned with popcorn, then pointed at the pool table. We're next. I said I didn't want to play, because I didn't want to interact with him plus sticks. He had already written our names on the chalkboard. We start the game. He's that guy, over-teaching, hands on my hips to line me up, getting huffy when humans exist in the bar and intersect his shot path. When someone cut across the felt, he went tight-jawed in a way that screamed starter of bar fights, and I felt my stomach pull a fire alarm. He alternated between flirty pawing and sulky teenager. Then he began performative grinding on the cue. Yes, you read that right. Imagine me, internally screaming, externally smiling like a stock photo of woman having okay time. 2 girls next to us asked, are you guys together? And I, on reflex, said, first date, not going well. They laughed, the kind that says, we will adopt you. Lightbulb. I formed a plan, escort him to his Uber, then stay and hang out with my new guardians of sanity. Hey, I told him, my friend just texted girls' night. Lie. I'm gonna meet up with them. Can I come? He said. No. He refused to leave, then got drunker and started dancing to the jukebox with the intensity of a man auditioning for a silent film. I had my face in my hands. One of the girls whispered, he literally just air-humped the cue. And I said, I believe you, I cannot look. Okay, I said to him, patient kindergarten teacher voice, call your Uber. He called it. I watched the screen, driver arriving. He stayed. 30 minutes. like he'd ordered a ghost car. I meanwhile was hiding in the bathroom, then peeking, then back in, then finally slipping outside like a raccoon in lip gloss. The alley had dumpsters. I tucked myself behind one, crouched like an Olympic-level fool, waiting for his silhouette to vanish. A staff guy took out a trash bag, nearly tripped over me. "You good?" "I am hiding," I said, because the truth is funny if you lean into it. They were sweet. A little protective circle formed. Barbacks, the two girls, a guy with a beagle. "Coast is clear," someone reported. I slid back inside, sheepish and grateful. I wanted to stay and make new friends forever, but honestly, they'd always remember me as Dumpster Girl. I paid my tab, waved thanks like a queen of embarrassment, and got my own ride. He texted when I got home. "Did you get back safe?" I said, "Yes, thank you." Polite. Wary. Then morning message, "Sorry if I was a lot. You're pretty cool. Let's do dinner," my pick. My spine said absolutely not. My survival brain said don't anger men who collect bars like Pokemon and might show up at the next one you're at. So I sent the boundary that doubles as a silk scarf. "Thanks for last night. I don't think we're a fit. Wishing you the best." He replied a thumbs up, then a song link 20 minutes later. I muted. Later that week, I walked past Cody's. A couple threw darts, the table still in front of the board like a little joke. I bought popcorn. I stood in the back and watched a woman beat 3 dudes at pool without commentary, then leave alone and smiling. That's the thing no one puts in the dating app. I don't need a vibe curator. I have a spine, a playlist, and a nose that can smell secondhand embarrassment at 50 paces. If you ever wonder what rock bottom looks like, it's me crouched behind a dumpster, mascara thriving, dignity intact, texting my location to a stranger who just became a friend. If you ever wonder what relief feels like, it's a bar door swinging shut on a man who wanted the world to be his AUX chord, and you choosing quiet instead. We shared a birthday. Cute, right? Same date circled on 2 different calendars, same little superstition about making a wish at 11:11. He was a photographer, the kind who noticed light on brick and the curve of steam off coffee, and he did the boyfriend starter kit, so well it almost sparkled. He showed up with my favorite snacks without asking, the good cheddar popcorn, the gummy bears that don't taste like perfume. He fixed the loose cabinet hinge and the fussy lamp without sighing. He'd text, "Proud of you," on days when I didn't even say I needed that. It felt easy, like walking downhill. I was packing to move back to Chicago, home, and trying to hold 2 truths at once. I liked him, and long distance scared me. I'd just gotten out of a long thing with my daughter's dad in October. My nervous system still flinched at thunder. He knew the basics. He said he could be patient. On our birthday, he came over early, eyes bright like a kid in a candy aisle. We exchanged gifts first. Mine wrapped pretty, his wrapped like a person who believes tissue paper is a conspiracy, but sweet all the same. Then he handed me this card he'd clearly worked on for days. Soft paper, neat handwriting. He wrote about how we'd found each other again, how he loved the way I laugh at my own jokes, how he wanted to be there for the mundane stuff, oil changes and Tuesday soups. I read it and felt my throat go tight. Not sad, just bracing. I was afraid to promise anything while every box in my life had its mouth open. He went to use my bathroom and called out, "Did you read the card?" And I said, "Yeah, too flat." His face fell half a shade when he came back, but he brushed it off and said, "Sushi? My treat." At the restaurant, the one with the warm wood and the clumsy koi painting, he ordered his usual and I ordered mine, and we clinked glasses. And then he said, too casual, "When you go back to Chicago, will you have time for Ohio?" It was a fair question shaped like a trap. I told the truth. It scares me. I think about that, about how much is about to change. I don't know how much I'll have to give at first. I also said, we could figure it out. I'm not shutting the door. I'm just being scared out loud. He changed. Right there, like the room had switched the light. His voice dropped an octave and lost its softness, and something in his eyes went narrow. "How long you been thinking like that?" "So what? I did all this for nothing." "You can't do people like that." "When were you going to tell me?" Each sentence a little bullet. I watched the waiter place miso soup like he was defusing a bomb. I tried to breathe slow. "I am telling you. Right now. I'm telling you because it matters." He kept pressing. "After I showed up for you. After I loved you. After I was there." He was talking to me, and to some invisible jury he'd brought along. I paid and we left because his voice carried, and I'm too old to be a spectacle. In the car he kept going, the same words in different coats. I let him speak because feelings don't melt when you hold a hairdryer to them. They just get louder. I was going to call him the next day, after sleep. I was going to write something kind. Back at my apartment, he grabbed his things and left in a storm. Door slam, air knocked sideways. I locked it, leaned my forehead on the wood, then FaceTimed my best friend. While I'm retelling what happened, my phone lights up like a pinball machine. Texts, paragraphs a flood. You said we'd be this. You said we'd be that. You can't do people like this. I blocked him, so he wouldn't say something he couldn't take back. I meant to revisit it when he calmed down. Then the knocking. Hard, insistent. My friend whispered, "Put me in your pocket." I cracked the door on the chain. He looked a little unstitched, breathing fast. "Why'd you block me?" he asked. I told him the truth. Because you were speaking out of emotion. I was going to reach out tomorrow. He came in. Same speech, new angles. "I did all this and it amounts to nothing," he said, pacing. I told him I heard him. I told him my body felt unsafe, not because he'd touched me, but because his words had teeth. It's hard to explain that to someone who thinks harm is only ever a hand. He finally raised his palms, the international sign for I'm done, and said too calmly, "From the bottom of my heart, F you." Then the names, be sting words I won't gift the page. He walked out backward, me walking forward saying, "Okay. Okay. Happy birthday." Because sometimes all you have left is dignity and sarcasm. Park nights always start with group chat chaos and end with glitter in your shoes. That Saturday was textbook San Diego Feral weekend. My DJ friend texted, "Pull up, I'm on at 12:30, party bus leaves 10:15, bring whoever." I'd been seeing this guy for about a month. Let's call him Marco, who'd finally made it through my weekend firewall. I don't hand those out easy. Weekends are sacred. If you're in, you've earned it. I figured perfect soft launch. He can meet the crew, soak up the vibe, and I don't have to make eye contact with a menu. I plotted everything like a small wedding planner. Group chat pinned, wristbands counted, pre-game playlist named Parked and Ferulicious. I coordinated with his friend too, because I am accommodating to a fault. Yes, both of you on the bus. Yes, there's a table. Yes, we'll have waters. No, don't pre-game past coherent. He shows up in a crisp button-down, and that cologne every man in Southern California buys after one good paycheck. He's handsome, he's smiley, he helps carry the champagne tower of Red Bulls like he's auditioning for Most Improved Boyfriend. I'm thinking, we might be onto something. The bus is sweaty and ridiculous. Everyone's shouting the lyrics to a Bad Bunny song they only half know. The driver's pretending he's deaf, and San Diego is doing that thing where the skyline looks all glossy and forgiving. Marco's hand is light at my waist, not pushy, just there. I introduce him around. This is my DJ bestie. This is the promoter who thinks he's a poet. This is the bouncer I once cried to about my shoes. He laughs in the right places, nods when I say cousin, not my cousin, and I can feel the tension in my shoulders loosen like, okay, maybe he is qualified. We get to park and it's the usual light show, fog, lasers, girls in silver minis that look like satellites, boys in black tees trying not to look like boys in black tees. Our table is a small island in a neon ocean. I stage the intros like a CEO. Marco, this is everyone. Everyone, this is Marco. He's vibing, his friend is vibing, I am thriving. At some point I lean to his ear and say, "Bathroom," and he nods, squeezes my hand, totally normal. I do the bathroom pilgrimage, the line that advances one eyelash at a time, and when I finish, I swing by the booth because my DJ friend's about to go on. I pop behind the rope, give quick hugs, help choose between two opening tracks. He doesn't need me. I just like the ritual, and chat with 3 people I only see in strobe light. 15 minutes, max. Like max. I'm clock watching because I am not trying to be that girl who disappears. I head back to the table, and it's empty. My purse is there, my jacket's doing a sad little shrug against the back of the chair, but Marco and his friend are gone. I do a slow 360, like maybe they fell into the ice bucket. Text, "Where'd you go?" Call. He picks up on the first ring, already mid-sentence, voice clipped and loud enough to cut through the bass. "You left me," he says. "You just left me." "Who does that?" I blink. I went to the bathroom, and to say hi to my friend. I literally just got back. "You weren't gonna come back," he spits. "You abandoned me." It's the kind of accusation that feels ridiculous and dangerous at the same time. I'm standing there with my little clutch, surrounded by 30,000 lumens of party, and my stomach is cold. I'm at the table. I say steady like I'm talking to a client. Where are you? He hangs up. It's a small, mean click. And something in me, call it people pleaser autopilot, call it a leftover instinct to fix, kicks in. I rush through the crowd, heart in my throat, out toward the exit with that frantic tunnel vision you get when the night flips to the bad channel. Outside is that wet, cool air that hits like a reset. The valet lights are doing Morse code. And there he is, near the curb, shoulders squared, jaw locked, eyes like little glass marbles. He sees me and starts toward me fast. Not a jog. Not a step. A charge. I freeze first, half second, maybe, then plant my feet like a tree pretending it's a bouncer. He stops an inch from my face, close enough that I can count the flecks in his irises and smell that sweet sour cologne turning on him. His friend is hovering behind, pretending to scroll, pretending this isn't happening. Marco's words are on full volume, spit flecking. You left me. You think you can just... And here's the part I'm still weirdly proud of. I went very, very quiet. My voice, I mean. Inside I was a fire alarm. But I kept my face soft, hands down, breath steady like yoga in a hurricane. Breathe, I say. Mira, look at me. I went to the bathroom. I talked to my friend for 15 minutes. That's it. We're at my friend's event. You're safe. I'm safe. This is not the story you think it is. He keeps going. I keep repeating versions of the same two sentences, not rising to it, not shrinking either. People are watching now. The smokers, the Uber drivers, two girls in matching rhinestone tops whispering yikes with their eyebrows. A bouncer glances, then glances away, which makes me angrier later than it did in the moment. There's a point in some arguments where the person runs out of fuel and the engine switches sounds. He stutters, face loses some heat, breath evens. In the span of a track change from the booth inside, he pivots from indictment to apology. I got in my head. I didn't know where you were. My body hears the sorry, but my bones hear the charge. That electric wire feeling in my arms stays. I say, still calm, still holding the line like it's the last one on the page. This can't happen again. Ever. He nods too fast. It won't. I swear. We go back inside, but the night is dead for me. The table looks like a crime scene. I sip water like it's medicine. When he leans in to say something, my whole back flinches. Even hugging him goodbye later feels like leaning near a live fence. In the Uber home, I stare out the window and try to make sense of how a good-on-paper guy can flip from "I've got you" to "I might hurt you" in one song. I dumped him that night. Second date at IKEA can be cute one, if got sense. This fella, first 10 minutes still okay. Hold basket, say you want hot dog later or not. Pretend very wholesome. After that, become overgrown boy. Jump on display sofa like trampoline. Throw all his weight on me until my shoulder go. People stare. I tell him nicely, condon't? Very payse-le. He grin, like my embarrassment is entertainment package. When I frown, he wink say, Aya, you too serious. He call the waitress auntie at the cafeteria and slurp his lingonberry drink until straw make dying whale sound. My rice cake suddenly tastes like cardboard. I try to reset vibes, take those tiny pencils, draw nonsense floor plan for future studio. He snatched the pencil, scribble mustache on my sketch, and poke my side till I jerk. I say, painle. He laugh. You know that kind of laugh. Enjoy you being not okay. Red flag wave like National Day parade, just no fireworks. Still, I think maybe just off day. Third meet, we say co-work at cafe because tomorrow I got big interview, must finish deck. I reach on time. He arrived with 2 laptops like productivity god, put one open to work, and the other blasting Joe Budden podcast. Whole afternoon he watched clips, play online spades, foot nudge my chair, finger poke my ribs, whisper, bored la. I put earphones, lock in. He pull one earbud out, do middle finger right in my face like primary school boy. I stare. Why you like that? He do 2 middle fingers, smirk. You don't like He keep shoving my shoulder, not playful, actual shove. I say, pain. He chuckle like got punchline. That thing click in my brain. This is not silly, this is disrespect. He taunt. You going to leave? I say, yeah. Start packing. He's still laughing, like my boundary is comedy show. I stand up, hands calm, heart fast. Tomorrow I got interview. Today I need peace. You not helping. He shrug, relax la. I pay my coffee, don't wait for his reply, walk out to afternoon heat that feel cleaner than the air beside him. At home I rehearse my presentation to my plants. Next morning he text, good luck. I mute. I do well, by the way. After, I send one message. Different stages, different standards. Take care. Block. Later that week I pass IKEA bus ad. Big blue letters, happy family meatballs. I laugh until can breathe again. Some men is like showroom. Nice from far, far from nice. I keep the tiny pencil from that day in my tote. Little souvenir, little reminder. Draw your own layout. Ah. Let no one come and rearrange your furniture. First time me see him pon Hinge. Him da in a uniform picture with D sun catch him cheekbone like metal. Clean trim, straight teeth, dog in a D second photo with one bandana. Me swipe right, mostly fi D dog me CYA lie. Him message quick. Bless up, beautiful. You like dogs? Me type back, love dem. Dem like me more. He laugh emoji, voice note with sweet Kingston bass. SEH him name is Ramel. SEH him Niam bun and cheese year round. SEH him in a DJDF but him cool, no tough up talk unless him at work. We start with little small talk. Nothing deep, where me work, when me live, me never tell gate code, never dat. Favorite patties, me SEH curry shrimp, him SEH me expensive. Music, he love Barris, me love coffee. When him finally SH, let we meet up weekend, me say, weh. Him pick one lickle jerk spot with zinc roof, drum pan smoke rising like prayer. Him reach before me, wipe the bench with napkin, tell the man, please make it mild, she look like she know on ball. Me ball anyway, lick me finger, laugh till me side stitch. Him easy you eat? Easy like a Sunday breeze. From dear, tings move sweet. Movie in a sovereign, walk rune Hope Gardens, him buy me snow cone with syrup stripe like flag. When him invite me over 5D first time, me carry little banana bread. Me matta always SEH don't enter people house empty hand. Him dog big, clumsy brown gill named Nala. Decide SEH me his new planet fi explore. She put her whole head into me lap and sigh. Me scratch her ear and look rune the apartment. Neat. Cologne smell. A pair of boots polish and standing attention near the door like dem dep on duty. We never rush nothing. Whole time me dead dear him respectful. We cuddle, we drop asleep fully clothed, TV watching we. Me wake up before daylight and hear him toaster pop. Him bring me 2 slice hard dough and scramble egg, what taste way better dan D1 me mek. Me can get used to dis, me mumble, half joke. Him grin. Me serious type, inu. When me de with somebody, me de with dem. Me chest do a lickle stupid flutter. Weeks pass. Flowers show up pon me desk one Friday. Even me supervisor a peep cross partition. Ramel text, proud of ya, keep shining. A who tell him me need dat message pon dat day. Me mek one little wish. Nothing dramatic, just let this be good. One Tuesday night him ask casual cool. You have Snapchat? Me SEH. Yeah man, but me hardly use it. Me keep it fi the old memory filter dem. Him SEH. Add me me name at Ramel 876. Me add him. Not even 5 minutes later, ding, one video. Me tap it, not expecting nothing but maybe him and Nala catch joke. Instead, me phone light up with him body, and a next gill body twist up pon him bed. Not porn camera angle, but close enough fi me eye and me hard agree pon de fact, a him. Him hand with de same scar near thumb from one dog bite him tell me bout. Nala collar jingle in a de background, and him text below it. Can me do dis to you when you come back? Me throat go dry so fast me feel me swallow air. Fi a second me think me seeing wrong. Me play it again, catch 2 second and stop, cause me stomach jump. All me hear is Nala nails scritch de tile, and some breath when never belonged to me. Me fling down de phone pon de couch like it hot. When me pick it up back, me hand trembling small, but me voice steady. Me type, why would you send me dat? Him reply, relax man, just vibes. His old clip. Me just a ask. All at once me understand something. Bout him smile me never noticed before. Is a door not a window. Open when him want, shut when him ready. Me not type out de long plenty. Me not even gimme righteous speech. Me block him pon Snap, block D number, block him pon Instagram. Me even block at Ramel 876 from me business page. You never too careful when people feel entitled. Me bathe. Me wash me face like it offend me. Me put me phone pon do not disturb and read 2 chapter a book me na enjoy. Around midnight, me switch off D lamp and watch D ceiling fan scrape cool circles in a D dark. Me brain still hot. Me body want ball and vex same time. But me refuse fi carry shame fi in behavior. Me whisper to myself, not take it in a ya chest. Then me finally drop sleep like somebody cut D-string. Morning come with 10 missed calls from numbers what look like them born yesterday. Text now type of numbers. Unknown. It's me. Unblock me. Unknown. Me did drunk. Unknown. So me see why I apologize? Then D-tone switch. You overreacting still. Then switch back. Babe please. Him find me Facebook from me full government name and send one long paragraph bout we special like we signed treaty. Him find me TikTok and comment under one dance video. Link back. Then D kicker. Him email me business address, the one where eat orders an inquiry, and type subject line urgent. Me read it in me lunch break, sandwich not up in me throat. I'm sorry if that offended you. It was to show what I want with you. You're taking it wrong. Let's be grown. The kind of apology where throw the blame like hot bread. Me hear me mad a voice in me head clear. If a man show you who him is, don't argue with him reflection. Me na answer. Me tighten me boundary belt 2 more notch. Me tell Nikki from accounts a quick version. She squeeze me hand each, block and burn. Fire fi dat. Me actually smile. Me feel me rib kgs up, one latch click. Him persist 2 more days. Message come like mosquito, low, annoying, hard to catch. You owe me a talk. Me never disrespect you. You aguan like saint. Me keep me phone on silent, and me spirit on loud. Each time D-buzz stir me breathe deep, count 4, and imagine Nala head into me lap. Pure creature, no mixed motive. Me almost text fi ask bout D-dog. Me don't. By Saturday him tone sour. Me did rate you still but you too extra. Women nowadays. That old lament when mass control is tradition. When men nugget consent dem rename it attitude. Me watch D-words come in, and drop off the earth like rain pon zinc. Sunday morning me step in a sun early, market bag under arm. Coronation market bright and rude like always, vendors hail me brownine, and empress, and beautiful, tomatoes sweet like ya. Me laugh and price down everything, because life too expensive fi tech anybody foolishness full cost. Me buy time, scotch bonnet, snapper, one bunch of callaloo so wide like it hug me. A little boy in a Spider-Man vest chase a mangy dog, both a dem joyous. Me chest feel clean again. Later, sitting pon me veranda shelling gungo peas, me phone vibrate. One last message, different number but same man. Me a pass near ya yard. Can me reason wid you face to face? Me look out pon D road. Breeze lift D lace curtain mek it flirt. 2 lizard race up D wall, and stop sudden like dem a listen. Me type slow, no. Stop contact me. Him, so that's it? Me. Dat been it from D moment you send dat video. Tick tick nothing. Me breathe out long, like when rain finally start pon a hot afternoon. D quiet feel earned. In a D weeks after, me still hear phantom buzz sometimes, and me heart jump before me brain remind it. You safe. When me walk home late and a car backfire, me shoulders hitch, then drop. Boundaries is not castle wall, dem is skin, you halfy lotion dem daily. Me put time into me own life again. Nala pop up into me mind, and me volunteer one Saturday with a rescue group. Dog dem lick me hand clean till me laugh tears run. Love exists, just not from every mouth dat call it. I should have known from the way the candle kept guttering that the evening would do the same. Tiny flame on a brass saucer, breathing in the draft each time the door swung, flaring, thinking better of it, then shrinking back to a pin. London in late rain had pushed in with us, damp coats, umbrellas exhaling, a pulley slick on the floorboards. We'd chosen a small table near the window, his idea, for the view, which was mostly the rear ends of taxis and people doing that little jog across the road they do when they pretend they're not jaywalking. He was handsome enough in a catalog sort of way. Good jumper, sensible jaw, hair that had met a comb recently. We'd matched the usual way, profiles, a message about books he loved reading, which could mean anything from receipts to Tolstoy, then a plan to meet in a place with cutlery. Nothing dangerous. We weren't demanding sparks. Warmth would have done. Conversation jogged along. The menu was one of those whimsical things that refuses to use capital letters and insists on listing ingredients like a ceremony. Heritage carrot, almost burnt lemon. He fretted over the wine, and then chose beer. I ordered something that arrived in a beaker and made the waiter say, "Enjoy," as if it were a legally binding instruction. We agreed about the weather and disagreed about olives. He told me about his new running shoes, which were very supportive, and I told him about my neighbor's dog, which wasn't. All quite civilized, which is English for faintly disappointing. You know that instinct you get, the one that's not a siren so much as a cough. It started when he laughed at something I said, and then checked who else had heard him laugh. Like he was a bit embarrassed to be seen enjoying himself. He flicked his eyes around the room, said something about the crowd, and I had a tiny vision of him in other rooms with other crowds, scanning for reflections and angles. Harmless, probably, but it planted itself. We divided the bill neatly, the way people do when they are trying not to owe or be owed. No theatrics, just maths and a quiet sigh when the service charge turned up like an uninvited cousin. I could feel the draft again, a skinny finger along my ankle, and excused myself. 2 minutes, I said, as one does, because we all know we are at the mercy of a cue and a tap that won't understand our hands. In the bathroom, the mirror was too honest and the lighting too enthusiastic. I checked my lipstick anyway and retied the drawstring of my little bag with the unearned seriousness of a surgeon. Women do this on dates, rear mooring. It takes 30 seconds. I looked at myself as if looking at a friend and thought, you're fine, you're doing fine. It's only Thursday and you made it out of the flat. Then the tap decided to gush like the Thames and an automatic soap dispenser drooled onto my sleeve, and I laughed at the absurdity of being alive and trying to look composed. Back out. 2 minutes, I promise, and the chair opposite me was empty. Not, oh, he's at the bar, empty. Not, he's picking his teeth in the bathroom, empty. Gone. No coat, no glass, no half-folded napkin shaped like a boring swan. Just an absence and a wet ring on the table where his pint had been, spinning slowly, as if it were trying to finish the evening by itself. There are several socially acceptable reactions in such moments. You can panic. You can pretend you're waiting for an old friend. You can immediately phone someone and say, you will not believe this, even though, of course, they will. What I did was sit down carefully, the way you sit in a chair you're not sure belongs to you anymore, and look around as if there might be a clue. There wasn't. The waiter caught my eye and did that small British wince that means, I am so sorry for the human condition. Will you be staying? He asked, gentle as a cat. For a moment, I said, because I needed to locate my dignity, which had apparently nipped out for a cigarette. I paid for my drink, ridiculous to leave without it. I was raised better, and left a proper tip because it's rude to abandon ship and stiff the crew. Then I put my coat on slowly, as if the fabric might talk me through it, sleeve, chin up. The candle, now that there was no one to impress, stopped fighting and went out with a little hiss. It felt like it was making a point. Outside, Fitzrovia had turned into a wet painting. Taxi lights dragged themselves along like glowworms. Bus windows were steamed with people being privately irritated. I stood beneath the awning in the kind of rain that can't commit, too thin to justify an umbrella, too insistent to ignore. Metro signs pulsed. Somewhere, a hen party squealed like migrating birds. A saxophone was busking 3 streets away with the courage only a saxophone can muster. The city looked at me in that way it does, which is not unkind but not exactly kind either. You again? All right then. My phone buzzed. For a foolish half-second, I thought he'd texted to explain that he'd been kidnapped by a ferret or called away to deliver a calf in the back room. Instead, come round mine? Film night. No preamble. No sorry had to dash. An invitation pitched like a ball you're meant to catch without noticing it's a brick. I had a small, petty joy then. I opened my banking app, exported the receipt for our drinks, and sent it with the single word. Nope. Polite, firm, vowel-led. Then I blocked his number, because I didn't want to spend the rest of the evening being educated about my sense of humor. At the bus stop, a woman in heels was eating chips with the concentration of a surgeon. An old man was reading a newspaper in the rain, holding it under his hat like a tiny umbrella. I like London best in these tiny, ungenerous moments, when everyone is slightly damp and doing their best. The bus took ages, which was inevitable and comforting. Waiting is a skill I possess. When it finally arrived, I went upstairs like a child who still believes upstairs on the bus is a kingdom. It is. Nobody looks at you. You can watch the city glide by like the slowest parade. As we trundled along Oxford Street, I thought about the empty chair. How quickly a space becomes a story. How many other chairs he'd left. How many other women had returned from the bathroom to find a ring of condensation doing its lonely waltz. Did he like the drama of it? The neatness? Did he think disappearing was cleaner than staying and saying, I'm not feeling it, shall we call it a night? Or was it less story and more habit, sliding toward what was easiest and beyond explanation? The bus's heater made a quiet dragon noise. The windows turned the streets into aquarium scenes, people floating, luminous, purposeful, then gone. At a stoplight, I watched a couple argue without sound. The woman's hands did all the speaking. The man's mouth made a narrow straight line. A cyclist went through a red, and 3 people on the pavement performed synchronized disapproval. It was oddly soothing, this parade of other lives. So I had just gotten out of a pretty significant relationship with someone of 4 years, nearly engaged and moving in together, etc. When things fell apart, I took a good amount of time to be on my own and get my shit together again, when my friends began encouraging me to get back out there. Needless to say, I really wasn't wanting anything at that point, nor looking for anything, but they insisted that I at least just go out on a few casual dates for practice, just to kind of get my skills back up for when I was ready. I think they were honestly just worried because I had become quite hermetic. So I matched with this girl, who's home from college for the summer. She's a little out of the way from me, but was eager to meet, seemed really interested, was even willing to come to my area, etc. I really wasn't all that interested to be truthful, but my friends again encouraged this, practice, whatever that means. A date doesn't mean commitment. Whatever. I want to be very clear, though, that I was extremely honest and explicit with her that I was not looking for anything serious, or anything really at all. I was very forthcoming that I had gotten out of something serious, and I was just kind of encouraged to explore. She persisted and still wanted to meet, so we agreed to a casual lunch in a sports bar that week. I get there, and she was already waiting for me. I was a bit put off by how much different she looked than her pictures. Not trying to sound shallow or anything, but her pics from Tinder easily had to be at least 5 years old, which I verified based on tattoos she had in person, versus ones she didn't in pics. So I was a bit thrown off by that. I wasn't the least bit attracted to her, but I was there to just have new experiences anyway, right? No big deal. I felt so bad, because the entire time she seemed so incredibly shy and awkward. I even noticed her hand shaking when she reached for her glass, which I found endearing honestly. So I did my best to get her talking, and try to help her feel more relaxed. I asked her questions and chatted about things I figured you chat about on dates, where she grew up, music she's into, school she goes to, major, etc. All to which I literally received one-word answers. It went on like this for about an hour, and she was just not working with me at all. But I tried to keep room in my heart, because it was clear she was feeling anxious, and I understand that on a personal level. Then she pulls out this book and says, "I got this for you." And I responded very grateful, thanking her, and inquiring what it was about, 'cause hey, if someone wants to share a good read with me, I'm all for that. She looks at me funny and says in a very sudden, but odd tone, "You're kidding, right?" I'm very confused, and just kind of look at her like, and she says, "This is your favorite book. You told me this was your favorite book." To which I said, "No? I have never even heard of this before," so we concluded that she ultimately got me confused with someone else she must have been chatting, which I honestly found hilarious, lol. She was embarrassed, but I made light of it and said I found it funny, 'cause I get it, that's Tinder culture, I guess. So as we finished lunch, and I'm still receiving one-word answers despite our funny moment, I kind of become a bit suggestive that we should conclude our date by saying I had to get back to feed my animals and do some laundry, etc. But she became very adamant on spending more time and asked if we could do something else. I was genuinely trying to be a decent person, so I agreed, and we found a nearby park to walk. That's where shit gets weird. We sat on a park bench, mind you it's broad daylight. There's kids playing basketball nearby, folks jogging past. I start trying to make conversation yet again, but still get the one-word answers. Then out of seemingly nowhere, without any warning whatsoever, she proceeds to just kiss me really aggressively, tongue and everything. I was honestly just so shocked I stood there frozen, not knowing what the fuck to do. I had this timid, shy woman, who's really not made much conversation with me at all, who was so nervous she was visibly shaking, just turn into a freaking bear mauling my face in like 0.6 seconds. My head was spinning with confusion and anxiety, and I swear it felt like it lasted forever, and I just prayed for it to stop. I was so put off and honestly a bit afraid to do or say anything. Like, what do you even do in that situation? I was just hoping she'd pick up on my very obvious body language, that I wasn't reciprocating anything at all. I was completely unprepared for a situation like this. Then some really nasty guy walks by, gawking and catcalling, and literally begins propositioning us into a three-way, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? I need to get out of here. I was 1,000 different types of uncomfortable. I end up managing to ward him off after telling him very politely, no more than several times, all the while she's just laughing. And I'm thinking, who even are you? Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde over here, WTF. So he leaves and I'm insisting now that I need to leave and go home. She seems to ignore what I'm saying and gets very close to my face again and says, "Did you like that? Do you think I'm sexy? Do you want me?" When I tell you I was so fucking nervous. I was like, I really need to get home. And she was like, "Can I come?" And I told her very firmly no. She literally tried to persuade me to let her come back to my place with me, and I had to say no more than 3 times. So finally I'm home and frankly just kind of shaken up. I hadn't really done the dating thing in quite a long time, but that felt very abnormal. She then texts me after she gets home and asks me out on a second date. And I was very kind, despite being made incredibly uncomfortable, and I told her I thought she was a very cool chick and I had a nice time but that I did not feel anything there, and reminded her I wasn't looking for anything. She then text-bombed me a bunch of crazy shit, saying how she didn't understand and was so confused, that she thought I was so into her and that things went great. I did not respond to any of these because now she's continuing to cross my boundaries. I said what I needed to say, and I thought I was being decent by at least being honest. So the texts continued, and I figure they're going to eventually stop because it was a first date. How can someone be so upset over someone not reciprocating on a first date? They did not stop. By the texts, you would have thought we just ended a 2-year relationship. Then she began calling, at which point I had to block her number.